Artist Phil at Harris Automotive. The other day I made a post for all my friends and family on all my social media platforms to ask me any questions. So I took 2 questions from each platform: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. And I have them right here. So this is going to be kind of a grab bag, a rapid fire kind of thing. I'm going to go through some of these questions. I think it's going to be more than 8 though, because a lot of people have kind of multiple part questions that I want to touch on. And I think some of the stuff is very informative. So I'd rather just answer as most as I can so we all get as much as we can out of it. So let's get into it. So on IG, user Bigger Better Deal 1530, he asked, if I didn't work in automotive field, what else would I have done? And any advice to a young person out of high school who's just who wants to get into the field? Number one, what else would I have done? I honestly don't know. Automotive been my passion since day one, since I've been a child. So I really don't know what I would have done. I can tell you what I've done before I worked in automotive though. I basically worked in cleaning maintenance at local businesses, doing cleaning and that kind of stuff. And I spent 3 years waiting tables, working up from a busboy to a dishwasher to a busboy to a waiter. And then I got into the automotive field. Now, next part of this question was these kids coming out of high school wanting to get into the business. Here's my advice for you. Do not spend your money on an automotive trade school. I would not do it. What you want to do is get yourself into a dealership or a tire store and come in at a basic level and get paid to learn instead of paying to learn. You'll get more out of it with hands-on experience instead of sitting behind a desk or sitting in a school learning behind a table. Just get an entry-level position and get paid to learn. You'll be a lot better off. You won't have no school loans. D-Man 23 from IG. He asked, is it hard to lay somebody off for fire? Thank God I'm never slow, so I never had to lay nobody off. The times that I had to fire, the persons had it coming. The people had it coming. It was no surprise. We sat down and talked about this before they got fired. I really just don't fire out of nowhere. I give warnings and we talk about it. And at the end of the day, if we can't come to an agreement or they do something so egregious, I cut bait and I let them go. All right. On IG, Patrick LaRue, Patrick LARRIEUX. He asked, how do I stay humble as a Black business owner? Because I truly believe, and I learned this a long time ago, I need my customers and they don't need me. My customers go past 100 shops or more before they get to my shop. They can always find somebody else that can fix their car. So I just believe that I need my customers more than they need me. And I realized that any mistake that I make, just as quick as I got here, just as quick as it can be gone. So I'll always do the right things to protect my business and my livelihood, and primarily to keep the customers coming in at a good rate, new customers, and retaining your customers. Treat them fair and respect them. Here's a good one here. This is just more of a personal one. Don Mijob. He said, did any of my sons struggle with the streets? And the answer is I'm human. I have a family. And yes, my older son had a little bump in with the law, had to do a little bit of time in jail. He got out of jail. He worked for me prior to getting in the streets and getting in trouble. Now, and listen, y'all young kids, you better listen. Same thing I told my son. I said, you're going to be dead or you're going to be in jail. That's it. Those are only 2 options that you have. So you got to make a decision if you're cool with being dead or cool being in jail, because it's coming to a head one way or the other. Fortunately for me, my son didn't wind up dead. Unfortunately, he had to do a slight bit of time in jail. He came out, came back to work for me. He respects his freedom and everything now. He learned from his mistakes. So, we're just moving on. So my advice to young people, stay out of trouble. Do the right thing, and you will freedom is very important. Freedom and your health. Without them two, you have nothing. Remember that. All right, so let's move on to Facebook. Pablo Barber, he asked me who taught me. Personally, a bunch of people taught me. Every job I went to, I learned something different. I started off at the tire stores. They taught me how to do front end and brakes and everything. I moved on from the tire stores. I went to Midas. I increased brakes, front end, suspension, and I learned how to do exhaust. In every job after that, I learned something different. But I really didn't learn. I really started learning at a quick rate when I took a job at the dealership. Once I started working at the dealerships, that's when really my skills they increased. I really honed my skills, and that's where I'm at today. Perry, it's a good one here. Do I give discounts if a person drive far away for service? And the answer, if you drive New York 3 or 4 hours coming down to see me, you're coming up from DC to come see me, I give you a discount. I'm not saying I'm going to give you 30% off or nothing like that. But of course, I give you free diagnostic and we'll cut your break because I appreciate your effort coming that far. So I will give you a little discount just to show you that I appreciate you driving that far. The next part of his question was, if somebody wants me personally to do hands-on work on a car, will I do it? And the answer is no. The answer is no. The more I grew, the more my business grew. When I first started, I used to make money. I still make money with my hands, all right? But I used to make money physically working on cars. But then things kind of changed. Then I went into a role of, okay, I got to communicate with the customers. I got to sell jobs, and I have to quality control work. I cannot do all of that while physically working on cars. Now to add more to my hat, the social media increase. So now I have the quality control. I diagnose, so I do work. Diagnostic is my main thing. So I diagnose. I have to talk to the customers, I have to sell the jobs. And on top of that, I have to post this great content that you like. That there by itself is a feat. So I don't have time to physically work on somebody's cars. I let my kids and my guys do that. They do the physical work, and I just do what I mentioned. So no, I'm not going to do brakes. I'm not going to do not even an oil change out of me. I really prefer to do diagnostic and teach my guys. I get a lot of enjoyment out of teaching. I never thought I would, but I really understand why teachers enjoy their job so much, because once you get in a position, I have so much knowledge in my brain. Now I'm able to pass it on. Is a great thing. All right, so let's move on to YouTube. Reese, username Reese 36530. He said, why do I drive an EV? Guess what? That's pretty simple, Reese, because when I get off work, I don't, well, let me tell you the reason why. The reason why I drive, the main reason why I drive an EV is that when gas price was up to $4 a gallon, I live 56 miles from my business. So I round trip 112 miles every single day. So when gas was up through the roof, it was costing me $25 round trip each day. So 25 times 5 is 125. You do that. And now I got to run around on the weekend. So at the end of the month, I normally spend about $800 in gas. And that was just too much. So I got an EV, knocked the $800 in gas down to about $120, $130 a month in electric. And in addition to that, they don't break. I don't have to change my oil all the time. I don't have to service them. You don't even have to put brakes on them, honestly. They really don't break, and they're very low maintenance. That's why I drive an EV. All right. AC Collins 9277 from YouTube. Do I work on all make and models, new and old? And the answer is yes and no. I do work on all make and models, but I do not work on older vehicles. My cutoff normally is 2005, 2006. I really don't even like going that far back. But, you know, if you have a nice car that's an 03 or something, absolutely, we'll take a look at it. But if you got a car that's back in the 90s, unless that thing is a cream puff, yeah, we're just not going to take it in. We're just not going to take it in. We kind of stick to newer stuff, you know, because you don't have we already have cars that have rust issues. They start going back to the cars in the 90s, parts availability. They get more complicated, not real complicated to work on, but the things all rusted up, and sometimes it's just too much of a headache, so we stay away from them. All right. Zach Tobak, Zach Tobak 256. Am I religious? The answer is yes. I'm a Christian. I go to church normally 2 times per month. I like to get there. I go to Bible study. Bible study is every Wednesday. And so I go to Bible study normally 2 to 3 times a month online. So yes, I'm a Christian. I'm religious. Best uncle ever. Recommend a reliable car. That's pretty simple. German cars are not one of them. So reliable cars, Honda, Toyota, and of course Lexus is in there with the Honda and the Toyota. Honda, Toyota, Lexus, Acura. And if you don't like them four right there, my next car I recommend would be a Subaru. But what's going to trump all that? You know what I'm going to say? Buy an EV. No maintenance whatsoever. All right, last one here. From TikTok. I'm sorry, best uncle ever. That last one, I'm sorry. That was from TikTok. TikTok, Milani22. Why did I specialize, or why do I specialize in German cars? And that's a very good question. And are they interesting to work on? They are interesting to work on, that's for sure. But the reason why I specialize in German cars, honestly, it was a mistake. It was really a mistake. I was working at a Volvo dealership called Stillman's down in Westchester, PA. I got fired from there. So I was in the midst of opening my own business. And I said, you know what? I'm not quite ready to open my own business. Let me put my resume out there on, it wasn't Indeed, whatever it was before that, Monster. Matter of fact, I think it was a Monster. Let me just go ahead and put my resume out on Monster. And Mercedes-Benz of Fort Washington picked it up immediately, called me in. And I said, you know what, let me just go in and talk to them and see what they're talking about. And they said, yeah, we'll hire you. And actually I was like, damn, Mercedes, I think that got to be complicated. Do I really want to do that coming from Volvo? Volvos were easy. You know, I worked at Jaguar. That was complicated. But I went in, and as soon as I popped the hood, I was there a week. And I said, damn, these things are easy. When I say easy, easy, they're the easiest German car to work on. So basically, I fell into it by mistake. I worked there. And then I opened my own business, Mercedes-Benz. Next thing you know, the BMW started to come in. They were a challenge to learn. BMWs was the challenge. Once I learned BMWs, and again, that was all on-the-job training through myself. I never worked at a BMW dealership. But a car is a car. So once I learned BMW, the Audis, the Porsches, you know, the Volkswagens, all that stuff kind of fell right into play. So I stumbled on Mercedes-Benz by mistake. I was just looking for a little filler, a little job for a few months and told my own business. And Mercedes-Benz called me. I spent some time there, learned the product, left, quit, opened my own business, and have not looked back. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Maybe this, maybe might go ahead and do a little grab bag once a week. Ask me anything. Let's see how this go. Drop something in the comments and let me know what you think about the answers. Everybody enjoy your evening.